A lot of people are calling this a PsyOp.
Is born into a wealthy family, attends a $40,000 a year private school, becomes valedictorian, earns a bachelor's and master's in computer science by 26, no criminal record, no psychological red flags, well-dressed, photogenic and handsome, active on social media showing vacations abroad with beautiful women and family, looks beyond well-adjusted and is thriving, landing an internship and building a resume that screams total success, spends his free time exploring transcendence and the self, whilst working the professional world showing no signs of instability, has all the hype of another rising tech star in his field, then all of a sudden disappears from his friends and his families for 3 months, only to return to kill the UnitedHealthcare CEO. None of this is adding up because in reality, we actually have an assembly line system to procure new so-called radical right-wing extremists simply by choosing whose brain to fry via psychedelic alchemical dumping at the drop of a hat. And has the same feel of Ted Kaczynski, who was MK Ultra brain fried as a psychological operated fed to distract us from what is truly happening on center stage today. From the fact that Syria is being converted to Israel while simultaneously painting an unglamorous depiction of the so-called woke right. But this is the strategy to kill two birds with one stone. Destroy the life of an introspective and upright man to demonize masculinity, whilst distracting us from geopolitical affairs that will determine the global enslavement of all of our progeny. This is a satanic pedophilic elite playing the...
Nah, man. Nah, we gotta fix this shit. No, we gotta fix healthcare like tomorrow. Okay? We gotta, I don't know, I'm not gonna say we gotta ban TikTok, but like, we gotta start fixing society immediately. We have, dude, everything is falling apart, dude. Everything is falling apart. This man said, oof. Everything is so unimaginably cooked. Every aspect of society is like, this was a long ass way of saying, once again, it's the Jews. Holy fuck, dude. Yeah, conspiracy Mad Libs is what he did. This guy is literally reading a green text post that's being reposted all over Reddit. You can't get your cancer cured because the satanic pedophile elite are using it for a ritual as opposed to the profit motive doing profit motive things. Yeah, I mean, look, it's the same. Look, I talk about this quite a bit with a lot of other aspects of like American society that are just fundamentally broken with seemingly no solutions. And there's a reason why people went from like, oh, these mass shootings happen because not gun control. Don't ever say it's gun control, but these mass shootings are happening with regular frequency because not because of the readily available weapons you can purchase, but it's actually because of door control. It's actually because the teachers aren't armed, and ultimately it's actually because it's fake. It's a PsyOp by the government. You devolve into conspiratorial thinking when you don't want to address the logical conclusion. Okay? You go further and further into insane conspiracy theories. And this is something that I've talked about a lot. Like the anti-Semitism is what's the take? Like it's like anti-Semitism is the fucking socialism of the fools or something. Where it's just like, if you don't want to recognize that capitalism very clearly has created a structure. Capitalism has very clearly created a structure where profit incentive trumps all, and the profit motive is more important than the well-being of people, and that corporations are obviously creating tremendous amounts of instability and harm so that a couple people at the tippy top can fucking make incredible returns year over year. And when that is entirely shut off, that idea, that concept, that simple, basic prescription, that simple, basic analysis is so effectively tampered due to the interests of capitalists that don't want you to recognize that the system is at fault here. Because they've pushed that away and have permitted right-wing instability as a good mechanism of deflection, inevitably, people are infinitely more comfortable focusing on this good-bad dynamic, this idealistic notion that there are good people and there are bad people, and then they inevitably go back to the same fucking targets over and over again. That, like, there's got to be an outside group. Who's the outside group? It's the Jews. Always. Is always the Jews. Okay? That's it. We are on the verge of collapse, in my opinion. There's a real crisis of information. There's a real crisis of logic. There's so many people that just like look at this and think like, oh, well, it can't be capitalism. That's completely impossible to contend with. I've never even considered that. I would never consider that. That's scary and dangerous thinking. So it actually must be Jewish people that are a part of a satanic pedophilic cabal. Must be that. People are infinitely more susceptible to right-wing conspiratorial thinking than they are to a materialist perception of the world, to analyze the world through a materialist lens. And a lot of these liberals are absolutely feeding into this by also playing the role of playing the role of tampering and stopping any sort of left-wing communications from coming out every step of the way. Taking bets on whether the Hassanist anti-Semitic crowd will give you credit for this demonstration of deep understanding of what anti-Semitism actually is. They will not. No, of course not. I have probably spent thousands of fucking hours at this point talking specifically about anti-Semitism. I know about anti-Semitism better than most people for this very reason, because it is, one, incorrect, okay? At its most basic truth is just simply not correct. But also, it is at the heart of many fascist movements. And as someone who has dedicated a good bit of time to combating bigotry and fascism specifically, I've spent a shitload of time talking about anti-Semitism, how it manifests, how it festers, how dangerous it is left unchecked. And not only that, but also, I've talked about for years now at this point, far before October 7, and I will continue talking about it. But I've also talked about how dangerous it is to conflate anti-Zionism with anti-Semitism. And especially at a time when like right-wing anti-Semites who are anti-Israel as well get a lot more prominence and a lot more media coverage, and they become the primary drivers of this conversation, you don't actually end up harming the anti-Israel movement. You actually end up propping anti-Semitism. It is so short-sighted. It is so unimaginably short-sighted. Many people probably think, oh, this is a comfortable narrative because if the largest disseminators of anti-Israel sentiment are like overt anti-Semites, then many people will assume that this is where the groundswell of anti-Israel commentary is coming from. What they fail to recognize, much like in this case with the CEO shooting, is that people are fucking anti-Israel because of what Israel is doing. You cannot contextualize and moralize rampant baby murder